Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for January 14th through 20th. This week I read 4 books, I watched 3 TV shows, and I listened to 1 book. A couple of quick things. There's a windstorm going outside, so this might be extra fun to edit, and the lighting is different because weather. Also, I finally convinced my best friend to dye my hair purple, and I love it. First this week I finished Elsewhere by Catherine Burns. This is a self-published contemporary book about a girl named Mads, and when we meet her she has recently broken up with her girlfriend and is driving away from the home that they once shared and doesn't stop anytime soon. This is a road trip novel about grief, family, and mental health, and it made me cry. Throughout this novel we really get to know Mads and her backstory, and I felt so much empathy for this character. This book is a juxtaposition to modern-day road trips in that the protagonist doesn't have a cell phone for most of the trip, so she is forced to be in the moment and also cannot rely on GPS if and when she gets lost. I put this on my A to Z of Queer Lit recommendations video after reading the first 5 chapters, and I'm really glad that it held up and totally deserves that place. Next I read More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. This is his debut novel, and I read his other 2 novels last year, and it was probably best that I read them out of order because I was able to give Silvera the benefit of the doubt. This book is about Aaron, a boy whose family is quite poor and whose father committed suicide not too long ago. Following the loss of his father, Aaron also attempts to take his own life and is left with a curved scar on his wrist as a reminder. Life is going all right now. He has friends, he has a girlfriend, and he has an intriguing new friend that keeps him company while his girlfriend is away at art camp. Going into this, I assumed based on Silvera's other novels that there would be queer rep in this, and there is. We do get to that. But on the way to the second half of the book, which is incredibly compelling and heartbreaking, we sit through so many scenes of Aaron and his friends using the phrase "no homo" basically anytime they come anywhere near each other, and it was getting on my nerves. Yes, his friends are the worst, but Aaron also uses the phrase because of their influence, and that just makes me incredibly sad. I think that if I tried reading this book before reading Silvera's other books, I might have given up before the halfway point out of frustration. So, read Silvera out of order and just know that his books will stomp on your heart. Next I read Into the Wild Nerd Yonder by Julia Helper, and I picked this up because it was recommended to me in the comments of my Fandom Reads video. This book is about Jessie, a quiet girl whose friends remake themselves over the summer and use her to get into the local punk scene, which her brother is a part of. Something happens to break up their trio, and Jessie is tasked with the challenge of finding a new friend group, which has her strolling between the gorgeous band nerd in her English class and the oddball in study hall. There were a few things I liked about Jessie. One of her defining characteristics is that she liked to make her own skirts, and she was trying to make a skirt for every day of the school year, matching different fabrics to occasions. I used to sew as a kid, so I thought that this sounded like a fun project. I also identified with feeling like the least liked person in a friend group, which is easy to come by when you're shy and quiet and have a hobby that is not shared by your general peer group. What I didn't like about this character, and therefore the book, was how judgmental Jessie was. Instead of talking to her friends about her feelings, she bottles them up under the guise of "I told them about this one time in the past so they should know it," and spent most of her internal monologue slut-shaming or pointing out why potential friends likely weren't cool enough for her to associate with. When she was finally absorbed into a friend group, part of me didn't know if she deserved them, which detracted from me enjoying this book. She did, however, have a great relationship with her brother, so if she talked as openly with people as she did with him, instead of bottling it up and then blowing up at people after years of resentment, I would have liked her and this book better. Finally, this week I read All the Feels by Danica Stone. This is a YA contemporary in which the final film in a franchise is released and it devastates the fandom. Liv, our protagonist at the midnight release viewing, is so upset by this that she can't seem to leave the theater. She mopes about this for days, much to the chagrin of her mother, who just does not understand fandom and thinks that it just gets in the way of Liv's studying. Her mother constantly tells her to give it up because the characters are not coming back. So, Liv starts a campaign to bring back her favorite hero, enlisting the help of her best friend, and keeps her identity in the movement anonymous. I tore through this book. I meant to just start it at work on Saturday and ended up coming home from work and finishing it. There were tons of great nerd references, lots of interactions I can relate to, such as having friends who you know from online and then meeting them offline, and a really sweet flirtation throughout. This book draws the line between actors and characters and celebrates people who are unironically enthusiastic about the things that they like. This week I watched the first season of American Gods. I read the book this was based on over 10 years ago and didn't really remember much of it, besides feeling really silly I didn't pick up on one of the names sooner. A few details of Shadow's life came back to me as I was watching the first scene. If you're unfamiliar with the show or the book, American Gods starts out with Shadow Moon, a man who is soon to be released from prison after an attempted robbery, and he's just trying to get back to his life. On the way home, he meets this weird older man who is adamant that Shadow will work for him, as well as this tall Irish bloke who says that he's a leprechaun. And everything in Shadow's life is kind of gone to shit, so he decides to work for Mr. Wednesday until he no longer wants to work for Mr. Wednesday. Weird things keep happening, and Shadow is just along for the ride. Other than that, I can't really tell you if the way the season ended was part of the book because it has been so long, but I can tell you that I remember the scene with I Love Lucy from the book, and I kid you not, I did not recognize Gillian Anderson. I kept thinking that the woman that they found to play this role was amazing, and when I saw her name in the credits, I was like, wait, who did she play? So basically that's the highest compliment you can give an actor. I also loved seeing Kirsten Chenoweth in the final episode, and George McFly doesn't seem to have aged much since the 1950s. I'm sorry, Crispin Glover will never not be McFly in my mind. This week our Tuesday Night Club finished up to the middle of the second season of Riverdale, and since that's all there is at this point, we had to find something else to watch. In an unexpected turn of events, we decided to go back nearly 20 years and watch the first ever episode of Survivor. My best friend has watched every season. I have not. It is weird to see that all of these phrases that Jeff uses really did come from the beginning. I think I know who won this season, but I could just know the name because they come back later or because everybody hates them, so I'm just gonna watch and find out. And be amused by the poor video quality. This week I listened to Dumplin' by Julie Murphy. This takes place in a small Texas town where the only thing bigger than football is the local beauty pageant. Willow Dean is a fat teenage girl with a great best friend, a love for Dolly Parton, an after-school job, and a crush on a cute boy she works with. Her best friend also has a job at a clothing store where they don't sell sizes larger than a 12 and where her co-workers treat Willow Dean like crap. It's not like she isn't used to this treatment, given her mother has put her on every fad diet there is, and constantly reminds Dumplin', which is her nickname for her daughter, that she used to be fat too. I appreciated this book for many reasons, showing how biased some people can be without giving others a second glance, letting the protagonist get to know other girls who unintentionally stand out, and the portrayal of internalized fat phobia because anyone who's grown up near the media of North America and has ever weighed more than a couple of extra pounds knows that feeling. I've been bullied about my weight, although in my case it's just one of the many things I've been bullied about, so it's just one piece of the puzzle. And it sucks. It sticks with you and it wears you down. This appears to be the first in a series, if Goodreads can be trusted, so I'm excited to read whatever else comes out about Willow Dean, because she is genuine, heartfelt, and lovely. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you next time. Bye!